The Dudaei Reuven on this parsha, as the Dudaei Reuven does, he cites many midrashim, and it's so beautiful. But it's oh, hold on 1 second. So continuing with the Dudaei Reuven, he has 8 pages here of beautiful midrashim, which he weaves together. We're not going to be able to do all of it, but I wanted to share a few of the midrashim, and he also is going to comment on this fiery coin, which the Lubavitcher Rebbe talks about. So first, let me cite the first midrash. He says, "Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe." The first, by the way, even before we take the Dudaei Reuven's brilliance in weaving together these midrashim, just the midrashim he collects and chooses to cite is spectacular. He has midrashim in there that Kasher had in this classic work Torah Shlema doesn't have. He has an encyclopedic knowledge of all the midrashim, and he picks out the ones that he thinks are most significant. So the Midrash Rabbah tells us that God said to Moshe, "Chayaven li Yisrael masha lavu himeni." The Jewish people have to pay me back that which they bothered for me. So what's this? What's the basis for this? He says the basis for this is because it says ki tisah, but ki tisah is spelled the way another verse is spelled. Let me just cite this other verse. Let me pull it up. In Deuteronomy chapter 24, hold on. Deuteronomy chapter 24, it states, hold on. It says in Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 10, when you demand something back that you loaned your fellow Jew, then you're not allowed to enter into his home to take the collateral. But the word there is ki tasheh b'reyacha. But here, actually, our verse over here, ki tisah, the word is spelled with an aleph, but the word ki tasheh is spelled with a hey, but the Midrash connects the two. In the Midrash, it has the word ki tasheh spelled with an aleph. So the Midrash says, and more lahem. So the Midrash connects this two, the counting and the demanding back of the collateral from your friend. So the Midrash says, and more lahem, sheyifru'uli ma shehim chayavimli have ki tisah. So say to them that they should pay me back that which they owe me. That will be, well, I'm not sure if it means ki tasheh or ki tisahi, but v'ashalmelahem, and then I will pay them back. If they pay me back what they owe me, then I will pay them back. As it states, v'yamispar b'nei Yisrael kechol hayam, that the children of Israel will be like the sand of the sea. Meaning to say, God is saying to the Jewish people, if they would tell Moshe to tell them, if you pay me back what you took from me, then I will make you numerous like the sand of the sea. And he says, first of all, the Midrash here is very strange. And the Divrei Midrash are now niflaim. They are very strange. B'li shum biur. They don't have any explanation. He said there's a lot of people who talk about these verses, and they talk about that 3 times it says here with Kudehem that you count them, and everybody has to give a kofar, an atonement when you count them, so that there not be a plague. So, but he says, what is the atonement here when the children of Israel are counted for their souls, and why will there be a plague? But that's another question he has. But the first question he says is, this midrash is very strange. What did the Jewish people take from me that they have to pay back? Then he quotes another midrash, which is also very, very interesting. The midrash says, Amar Moshe Lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this midrash brings me to tears. Listen to this midrash. Moses says to God, Mishani Mace, when I die, Einani Niskar, I'm not going to be remembered. It says Moshe Rabbeinu. Who is remembered more than Moses? Moses says, when I die, no one's going to remember me. So God says to him, Chayecha, I swear by you, Kashem Shata Omeid Achshav, V'nosei Parsha Shkalim, just like you're standing there now and you're giving them this commandment of Shkalim, to give coins, V'ata Zokef et Roshan, and you lift up their heads, i.e. you count them, so too every year, Kach, V'kol Shana V'shana, Shar Korin Osalafanai, also every single year, when you read this passage from the Torah, it will be as though you're standing there lifting up their heads. And from where do we know this? Says the Midrash. From that which it states, and God spoke to Moses and says, Ki Tisah es Rosh. It doesn't say Sa es Rosh, count their heads. It says Ki Tisah, in the future. Let me just repeat this very, very interesting midrash of the Dudaei Reuven. So the midrash says that Moshe is standing there before God, and when he's standing there before God, he says, no one's going to remember me. And God says, they'll remember you when they read this passage of lifting up their heads. And every single year when they read it, they'll remember you. And this midrash is, again, seems strange. What's God trying to say here? What's the midrash trying to say? So I'll just do the other one, the last one, where he quotes the midrash of the fire. And he says, what is the point of this fiery coin? And Moses never seen a machatzita shekel in his life, and Moses never seen a fiery coin. I'll read it in his language. Midrash Rabba Isa, and the midrash it appears. It's cited in Rashi, and it's brought from the Talmud in Menachot 29a. Moshe was very bothered by the half shekel, and God showed him a fiery coin. And says, this is what they shall give. He says, V'tzarach biyur, ma'zeh nitkashem Moshe Rabbeinu olav hashalom, kol kach b'mitzvah. Why was Moshe Rabbeinu so upset about this machatzit shekel, that God needed to show him this coin of fire? Didn't Moshe see? Moshe never seen a machatzit shekel in his life? So he connects it now first to this Gemara. He says, it's a very famous Gemara. I mean, famous. It's a powerful Gemara from Bava Metzia 85b. And this is a story. It's the bottom of 85b, and then it goes to 86a. I remember this Gemara. Gemara tells us that when Rabbi Chanina and Rabbi Chia were arguing, so Rabbi Chanina says to Rabbi Chia, and this Gemara is what the Dudaei Reuven is going to use as his source to bring it all together. He says, you're arguing with me? Bahadi Didi Kaminsis, you're arguing with me? Ichatz v'shalom mishtachah Torah miYisrael. Ma'adrano ami popule. Rabbi Chanina says to Rabbi Chia, you're arguing with me? If God forbid the Torah will be forgotten, I have so much sharpness. I've been studying Torah for so long, I could recreate it. I could rebuild it. How dare you argue with me? I'm the sharpest of the sharp. So Rabbi Chia says to Rabbi Chanina, he says, you're arguing with me? I've made it so that the Torah should not be forgotten. How did I make it so that the Torah should not be forgotten? My avidna, what did I do? Azlina b'shadina kutne. What did I do? I went and I planted flax. And then I grew the flax. And then I used it to make traps. I wove material to make the traps. And then what did I do? I captured a deer. Why? Because then I took this deer and I fed the meat to the orphans. And then I took the skin, and what I do with the skin of this deer, I wrote on it the 5 books of the Torah. And then I came to a city. And what did I do? I read the Torah to children, to little children. And I read the Mishnah to the children. And I said to them, and I taught them the Torah. And this is what I did to make sure that the Torah cannot be forgotten from the land of the Jewish people. And Rabbi said, look how great are the actions of Rabbi Chia. So these two great rabbis are having an argument. Which is more important? The one who's out there teaching Torah to the children, or the one who became such an expert, such a genius, that he's able to recreate the Torah? And so the point is that Rabbi Chia's Torah knowledge, Rabbi Chia's dedication was what did it. That was the greatness. That was the essence. That was the essence of the argument that won the case, Rabbi Chia's commitment. How does this relate to Parashat Shkalim? How does this relate to the fiery coin? How does this relate to Moshe Rabbeinu being worried that his legacy would never be remembered? So the answer, I think, is very simple. The answer is that the only way to strengthen the Torah, the only way to Moshe Rabbeinu, for his memory to be remembered, the only way for the Torah to be preserved is through this financial commitment. That is what these midrashim are saying. That's what these midrashim are saying. That Hashem was saying, you think that you're not going to be remembered? No, every year when there are Jewish people are going to commit their money, their resources to Torah study, that's what's going to keep this flame of the Torah alive. That's what's going to keep the soul of the Torah alive. And this is why the fiery coin, this is why Hashem Yisbarach showed Moshe Rabbeinu a fiery coin. What's the reason? He said, I'm going to read this. I'm going to read what the Dudaei Reuven says, and then I'll take your questions. He says, this is what the intention of Chazal is, that when that Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't able to see what the coin was, and God had to show him a fiery coin. And so therefore, what's the reason? Because Moshe thought that the only way we're going to be able to recreate the Torah and to preserve the Torah is through the brilliant teachers. And there's going to be nobody as brilliant as me. I have the direct connection with Hashem. There's going to be nobody as brilliant as me who's going to be able to recreate the Torah. So it's all going to be lost. So therefore, God showed Moshe, this is what the Dudaei Reuven says, God showed Moshe the coin of fire. He says, this coin of fire, what is this? This is the coin of fire, is the coin that is given as a donation to the institutions that study Torah. And this is a coin that's made out of fire, because the fire of Torah, the light of Torah, will illuminate the Torah. And this is like the Torah of Rabbi Chia. This is what he says. When a coin is given to Torah, what does it do? The light of Torah is illuminated. So that's what the Dudaei Reuven was saying. Maybe he was making an appeal that week, but I think it's true that the only way the Torah has been illuminated is because through the last 2,000 years, there have been incredible dedication by people who went and supported the Torah. And that is even more important than the brilliance. Even more important was the brilliance was just this absolute commitment to making a coin of fire coming from the Jewish people, the light of Torah. And this is his beautiful message about the coin. Okay, I'll stop here, but for this Dudaei Reuven, but I see April has a question.